Created in 1984 in the pages of The Amazing Spider-Man, Venom is a character that's mainly known as a cool drawing with some iconic stories along the way. On the I Want It as a Tattoo scale, he's right between Ghost Rider and some character from early Image comics. Even during his flop era, and with Venom there are many flops, you can count on the art being the best or at least memorable part of the book. Let's highlight some of the best Venom artists in no particular order because I haven't read every Venom book. Anyway, Mark Bagley, Ivan Fiorelli, Ken Lashley, Ryan Stegman, Paco Medina, Bob McLeod, Kyle Hotz. Wait. Kyle Hotz? This man is too powerful. Patch Zurcher, Roger R. Robinson, and Steve Lightlow. So in this, our video essay, we're going to cover every single Venom comic to both celebrate the Lethal Protector and to understand the man, the symbiote, and the legend. So the first book we're going to talk about is the 1993 miniseries, Venom Lethal Hello? Yeah, we're talking about Eddie Brock. 16. What? 1610? You mean Eddie Grooms? I gotta do what? Fine. So, today we're not talking about the main Eddie Brock. Instead, we're talking about his much more controversial counterpart. So, in our video essay, we'll be in defense of, Ultimate Venom.
Our fathers died to create me, and now you will too.
Listen to me, Eddie. You're smarter than this. This isn't you, it's the suit. I've been... Ow! I need to dodge faster than that. Let me help you before you do something you're going to regret. I gotta get Eddie off campus before somebody gets hurt. That means I have to put him down. Fast.
Lie on the ground with your hands over your head. Both of you on the ground now. The hell is that?
What did that dipshit Mom Max say? Oh yeah, fuck pedophiles. I was originally going to end the video here, but I'm a sucker for pain, so I decided to reread the Venom arcs of Ultimate Spider-Man, and yeesh. Ultimate Eddie Brock could have stayed as a college douche and not hit on a 15-year-old Gwen Stacy. Not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Whoa, hey.
Like, you could ignore the first 2 times if you have a migraine that day and you're seeing spots, but once we enter the third one, we enter Kid Rock territory. And when Gwen says no, he calls her a fucking tease like, huh? Call the police! Wee woo. This isn't the first time Ultimate Spider-Man had a weirdo story. The Ultimate Venom arc is from issues 33 to 38, but the infamous Wolverine body swap arc happens in issues 66 and 67. In that storyline, Wolverine and Spider-Man have a Freaky Friday situation, and a very adult Wolverine and Peter's body tries to have sex with a 15-year-old MJ and is played off as a cheeky joke. The writer of Ultimate Spider-Man, Brian Michael Bendis, blamed at the time assistant editor Nick Lowe for forcing him to make the story. We know this because at the beginning of both issues 66 and 67, Bendis gets in front of the reader and screams, "Hey, it's not our fault." Hi, my name is Brian Bendis. I'm the writer of Ultimate Spider-Man. Every once in a while, a story comes along that defines a writer. A story so powerful that he doesn't want to tell it, he has to tell it. This is not one of those stories. Mark Bagley's in the background writing, "Help me," and I've never related to an image so much in my life. The only silver lining is that Bagley gets to draw Bendis strangling Nick Lowe at the beginning of issue 67. Bendis gets Nick Lowe to quote-unquote admit that it was his idea and he didn't think Bendis would do it. If you take this at face value, it's crazy that an assistant editor suggested this horrible idea to the writer of a best-selling comic series and he just went along with it. Anyway, the point of this Tokyo Drift level tangent is that Bendis wrote the groomer aspect of Eddie Brock's story without an inch of guilt at the time, but 29 issues later, he had to break out the "they made me do it" excuse. You can make the argument that it's fine to make Eddie the creepy weirdo because he's telegraphed to be a villain, but Peter can be villainous because he's the hero even if it's not his own actions. But at that point, it's just a failure on Bendis' part because why do we need this version of Eddie to be a groomer to understand that he's a villain? This is one of the reasons why the Ultimate Universe didn't work, and this is the only great Ultimate Universe book. That includes Miles because he took over Ultimate Spider-Man after this version of Peter dies. The writers of the Ultimate Universe lean too much on the main universe in how they told their stories. Either it's too similar to the main universe, or it's radically different in the worst of directions. And by radically different, I mean 2000's Edge that doesn't hold up now and didn't have any substance back then because it was just done to be edgy and different. And on top of all of that, he's racist against mutants. He's a complete piece of shit package. After his initial arc, Ultimate Venom doesn't show up until the War of the Symbiotes arc, which spanned from issues 123 to 128. After being shot and electrocuted to death, Eddie wakes up with an insatiable hunger. This is where worlds collide because the Ultimate Spider-Man video game came out in 2005, while this arc starts in 2008. In the video game, you get to play as Venom, and one of the main mechanics has Venom eating people to gain health. Bendis both wrote the comic and the video game, so this arc acts as a very loose adaptation of the game's story. Also in the main universe, Eddie Brock Venom often threatens to eat people's brains, so it just feels like a combination of these things. The Ultimate Universe's version of the symbiote is not an alien, but a biosuit created by Eddie and Peter's parents. It was ultimately, meant to be a cure for cancer. It would sync with the host's DNA and naturally supply the body with whatever it needed to fight off various illnesses. The symbiote was based on Peter's DNA, and without Peter's DNA, Eddie's symbiote is incomplete, which is why Venom is hungry. So after dying, Eddie has lived weeks and months by eating people to be stable. After running into Peter by happenstance, Eddie realizes that the only time he's not hungry is when Peter's nearby. But when he's near Peter, Peter gets these horrible migraines. In utter desperation to feel whole again, Eddie attacks Peter while he's on a school trip to a museum. This lands Eddie in the hands of Silver Sable and her group, the Wild Pack. Eddie is eventually freed by Beetle, a spy for Dr. Doom's home country, Latveria, and they get into a fight that leads them into the city. Venom at this point is so hungry that he literally eats an entire horse. Spider-Man shows up and they battle again, but it doesn't last long because the symbiote leaves Eddie and possesses Peter. Thankfully, before Peter can do any real damage, the Ultimate, this universe's equivalent to the Avengers, separates Peter and the symbiote. Later, Eddie confronts Peter and MJ at their school and threatens Peter by saying that if he doesn't help him get his suit back, he'll out him as Spider-Man. Peter tries to talk Eddie out of it because with the suit, he was eating people and going crazy. Eddie has a chance to be a normal person now, and not some creep that hangs around high school parking lots threatening teenagers. Later, after doing some thinking, Peter returns home to the symbiote clone of Gwen in his house. In a previous arc, Gwen was killed by the Carnage symbiote, and that ended with Peter tossing it into a fiery pit. It somehow survived that, and because the last person it devoured was Gwen, it evolved into an exact clone of her. I don't know how that makes any sense, but Bendis be Bendis, you know what I'm saying? Gwen was kept in S.H.I.E.L.'s Triskelion building, but due to an attack, she was able to escape. Before Peter and Gwen can get a minute to talk, Eddie knocks on the front door. He has a small conversation with Aunt May, but Peter webs him up and tosses him around for good measure. Peter then grabs Eddie and moves the interrogation into a safer place. This is where we get genuine pathos from Eddie. The symbiote is what was left of his father's work after Eddie and Peter's parents were murdered in a plane explosion. Peter has MJ and May and his friends, while Eddie only has the suit. Peter makes one more desperate plea for Eddie to understand that the suit is making him sick. Gwen tails the two, and Peter uses her as an example of the harm the suit can do. But Gwen transforms into her Carnage form and attacks Eddie. Eddie uses the attack from Gwen to absorb a part of her symbiote, which jumpstarts the Venom symbiote. Earlier in the story, we see that Peter has the symbiote cells in his body, even after destroying it, so by that logic, Eddie didn't lose the symbiote, it was still in his blood. He just needed more to reconstitute himself. Which is kind of like in the main universe where you can't really kill the Carnage symbiote because it's in Cletus's blood, so it'll never go away. Venom and Carnage start battling, and while it looks like Carnage is winning, Venom traps her and devours her symbiote. The Carnage symbiote in this universe is made by combining the suit with Peter's blood, so Venom absorbing the Carnage symbiote allows the suit to be complete. This gives Venom a new and frankly ugly new form, but he's no longer hungry. Venom is now stabilized, and before Peter can start up a new fight, Venom tells him that he doesn't want to fight because he has what he wants. Venom then disappears. Throughout the arc, we see Eddie talk to various people on a park bench before devouring them. So the arc ends with Eddie talking to one less person on the bench. He transforms into his perfect Venom form, but he doesn't look like he's gonna eat this guy. Instead, he looks like he's getting ready to attack him. But before Venom can do anything, the civilian absorbs him into his suit, and the civilian is revealed to be Beetle in disguise. The arc ends with Beetle kidnapping Venom and taking him to Latveria. This is literally the last time we see Ultimate Eddie Brock. Venom does show up again during Miles' 10-year-old Ultimate Spider-Man, but it's someone else in the suit, not Eddie. It's absolutely insane that Bendis wrote Eddie as his groomer to loser in his initial arc, and in the arc where we get genuine pathos from Eddie, the Gwen incident is never brought up, is where he gets placed in a toy box, never to be used again. You could see this as Bendis tying up loose ends and criticisms before the initial Ultimate Spider-Man run ends after the event Ultimatum, but it just feels cynical and mean. We could have gotten an Eddie redemption arc or something, but I guess it wasn't in the cards? I'm not a fan of Ultimate Venom as a character, but I like his design, as well as the artwork done by both Mark Bagley and Stuart Immonen. Bagley's interpretation of the symbiote being this living, breathing organism that's constantly in motion is really cool, but Bendis' writing of Eddie is just lame as hell and has aged horribly. Everyone will remember this version of Eddie as Eddie Grooms, and no one, not even Marvel, will remember his somewhat interesting arc at the end of his life. Recently, Jonathan Hickman, along with artist Brian Hitch, brought back the Ultimate line of books by rebooting it in the event series Ultimate Invasion. This saw the maker, the evil version of Mr. Fantastic from the original Ultimate Universe, create his own version of his home designation, where the majority of Earth's heroes never gain the opportunity to follow their destiny. This leads directly into Hickman and artist Marco Checchetto's run on Ultimate Spider-Man, which has only one issue as of the making of this video. We see a middle-aged Peter who is married to MJ and has 2 kids, but there's a piece of him that knows that something in his life is missing. Thematically, Peter's yearning for something more is akin to a midlife crisis, and the book ends with Peter being given a chance to be the Spider-Man of this universe by this universe's Tony Stark, which he accepts due to the direct support from his wife and the indirect support from his Uncle Ben. This first issue of this iteration of Ultimate Spider-Man is a breath of fresh air. I'm one of the many people who felt burned by Zeb Wells' run, and this was not only an alternative to that, but something that felt fresh and genuine. Let's just hope that Hickman and Checchetto don't suffer from the sins of the father, and retread some of the controversial aspects of the original run. Let's just avoid another Eddie Groom situation altogether, please. But all of this is to explain why Ultimate Venom is hated, according to Twitter. I'm not calling it X. Thanks for watching. This video is meant to be a short and sweet meme video about Ultimate Venom, but once I started rereading his arcs, I couldn't just leave it at that. I really couldn't. Ultimate Spider-Man will always hold a special place in my heart, despite its controversial moments, and I definitely plan on rereading the entire run sometime this year, but if I'm gonna make a video on it, I don't know, who knows. I like my patrons, Leocrid, Retroroy, Hack13, Neosai, Burbsai, the channel with the freakishly long name, and new member Hachi for supporting the channel, and for $1 a month, your name will show up right here, on top of early access to new videos. Starting this year, I will take video suggestions from patrons and place them in the wheel for a Patreon sponsored video, on top of the 50 Shades video I promised. Love you guys, and shamalamoomoo.